The nation is mourning the deaths of several women and girls who were murdered by men.
Holding the steak knife that he had been using, he jumped to his feet and rushed at me.
That night when I put in my statement, one of the officers at the police station says, "Oh, you know what? We don't have the time for this."
We know the names of Uyinene Mkhechana, Leandre Jechels, Janika Mallo, Ayaka Gianni, and her 3 little siblings. But we also grieve for the many others who have died at the hands of men.
There was physical abuse, verbal abuse, and emotional abuse.
Violence against women has become more than a national crisis. It is a crime against our common humanity.
South Africa has among the world's highest femicide rates. Most cases are intimate partner violence, which means women are more likely to be killed by someone they know than a stranger. The likelihood that every girl, woman, and gender non-conforming person has experienced some form of abuse is very high. This does not necessarily mean that most people have been physically assaulted by men. Rather, it means that people who are not cis heterosexual men are subjected to varying forms of abuse, such as verbal, emotional, and physical abuse. This points to a culture that is hostile towards people who do not fall within the spectrum of the idealized masculinity. This is Him or Me, a podcast series on the experiences of women who have faced abuse and the experiences with the South African criminal justice system.
My name is Samantha Wade. On the 19th of March 2019, at 7:10 in the morning, my ex-fiancé shot me twice in my head whilst I was sitting in my car waiting at a traffic light in peak hour traffic. I did not know he was following me. I did not know that he was right behind me. I did not know that he got out of his car and walked to my car. I did not see him next to my window pointing the gun.
This is Samantha Wade's story. Samantha met her ex-fiancé when they were just children. They were in a relationship for 2 years before he attempted to kill her.
I have known my ex-fiancé for 35 years. We grew up together. I went to his first wedding. I knew his second ex-wife. I knew he was a very aggressive, obsessive person. Why did I even enter into a relationship with them? I can only put it down to you think that you will be the one that changes that person. Maybe I was banking on the fact that I knew him for so long and that we were basically lifelong friends. I don't know. But the 2 years that I was involved with him was hell. He displayed extreme possessiveness with me. He used to stalk me many times. I tried to end the relationship, and every time he would love bomb me and beg me not to end it.
It may be difficult for women in abusive relationships to walk away for a number of reasons. Women who are financially dependent on men are often unable to leave their abusive relationships as their material survival is tied to the abuser. At times, this means that their children's material survival is also tied to the abuser. In many cases, the abuser is often very clear about the consequences of leaving. At times, they threaten to harm the victim should they leave. Other times, they threaten to harm themselves and their families. The abuser promises to change their behavior, and because they know their victims on an intimate level, they know just the right things to say to convince them. While there may be red flags or warning signs from the early stages of the relationship, many survivors and victims may overlook and dismiss the signs. The emotional connection that people build in a relationship is a huge determining factor in how they respond to warning signs, how they respond to promises made by the abuser, and how they respond to the abuse itself. This makes it hard to leave because the experiences with the abuser are not solely bad experiences. They have good and bad memories, and oftentimes victims of ongoing abuse may choose to be optimistic rather than break off the unhealthy bond that they have established with their abuser.
You know, I would give him the benefit of the doubt. And eventually, I said to him that he needs help. He seriously needs help. And he said, okay, he will go for help if I came with him so we could do it as a couple. And we went to a psychologist. But he used to lie to her. She used to ask him, have you had alcohol? And he'd say, no, I haven't touched alcohol for 6 months. But meantime, he was lying. The night before he was drinking. So he would tell her what she really wanted to hear. And I was just honestly so petrified in his aggressiveness that every time I wanted to leave, I used to hyperventilate. I knew that if I left, something would happen. Because he always used to say to me, if I can't have you, no one will. And eventually I did leave him. The night before the incident, I was with my best friend and I needed to get some clothes from his house. We were very much on talking terms. So I had messaged him and I said, look, I need to come get some stuff from the house. And he said, that's fine. When we got there, number one, he was completely and utterly drunk. And you could see that he was a bit aggressive. Anyway, I went upstairs and I got clothes, and he had cornered my best friend and I. He then pushed all the clothes out of my hands and he became very aggressive. He then threatened to shoot my friend and I. He locked the door, he locked us inside, threatening us. I persuaded him to open the door so we could leave, which we did. We then went straight to the police station to go lay a charge. Number one, for threatening us with guns. And number two, because he actually struck my friend in the face. The commander in charge at the police station said, don't worry, by tomorrow everything will be sorted. You will make up and, this is not a serious case. I was begging him that night, the police commander, saying, listen, you need to go arrest him and you need to take away his guns. Unfortunately, the police didn't take us seriously. And look what happened the very next day.
According to Stats SA, in the years 2013 to 2014, 59.4% of households said they were satisfied with the courts, while 63.9% said they were satisfied with the police. The Stats SA report also noted a widening trend of dissatisfaction with how police handle gender-based violence cases and reports. 4 years later, those figures have declined significantly, with only 41% of households being satisfied with courts in the 2017 to 2018 period, and only 54.2% satisfied with the police.
I just think there was a price to pay for leaving him, and I paid that price. He shot me. I saw my left arm fall to the side of my body, and I was looking at it whilst my ears were ringing, and I was thinking, I can't move my left arm. I took my right arm and I picked up my cell phone and messaged my best friend to say, I've been shot, help me. I then heard a voice at my window saying, please open, unlock your door. I took my right arm and I was pressing on the unlock button, but I just did not have the power. I was losing power. Eventually, I put all my energy into unlocking my car, and I unlocked it, and that was the last thing I remember until I woke up a week or so later in ICU. My ex-fiancé, after shooting me, walked casually back to his car, got in his car, drove past my car, and went down the road. The police was then notified what he had just done, and they were chasing him. And he got onto Bidkoppen Road and hit traffic. The police stopped behind him and they were busy walking towards his car. My ex-fiancé then shot himself in the head before they could even get to him.
According to Stats SA, 1 in 5 partnered women over the age of 18 have experienced intimate partner violence. This figure does not account for young women under the age of 18 and unreported cases of gender-based violence. Women who are divorced or separated from their partners are more vulnerable to physical and sexual violence.
So in closing, in all of this, did the police do enough to protect me? No. The police did not do enough. I don't have faith in our system. We have got a police force that take their oath to serve the community and to protect us, while they don't protect us. That night when I put in my statement to say to the police that they need to go arrest him, one of the officers at the police station says, oh, you know what, we get so many statements like this. We don't have the time for this. How can they say that? If it's 20 a day that they get, they need to look at everyone, they need to act on everyone. How can they justify what is important and what is not important, and to ignore it and to assume that in the morning things would just blow over? I mean, who are they to assume that?
Despite the high rates of gender-based violence in South Africa, police officers often ask victims to go back and make peace with their abusers. In Samantha Wade's story, Police negligence and their refusal to take her complaint seriously almost cost her her life. This is Him or Me, a podcast series on the experiences of women who have faced abuse and their experiences with the South African criminal justice system. I'm your host, Leletu Donisi. The Wits Justice Project investigates human rights abuses and miscarriages of justice related to the criminal justice system. You can get in touch with us by visiting our website at www.witsjusticeproject.co.za or Wits Justice Project on Facebook and on Twitter.